First, I definitely want to hear from Forrest Pritchard, and he's going to talk to us, from the field, what this actually looks like in practice, to be living out the practices that you as chefs may be starting to think are a good idea at this point. Come on up, Forrest.
Since I'm last, I will also be the most brief. After all, I wrote 93,000 words, so if I don't say enough to your liking, you can just fill in the blanks here. Basically what I do is I'm a full-time farmer. I've been farming for 17 years. I took over my family's farm in the mid-1990s, did exactly what I was supposed to do as a farmer. I took herbicide and pesticide and killed off all my fields, put down commercial fertilizers. In our first year of harvest, we harvested 5 tractor-trailer loads of corn and soybeans on our farm, and our net profit was $18.16, which is how the book starts out. And I want to quickly diverge from that and say, much like Paul alluded to, we are a strictly free-range, grass-fed farm, and we direct market all our food through DuPont Circle, below in Yonkers, and Tacoma Park. I see some Tacoma Park folks up here, I think. That's how we make our living. That isn't to say that we couldn't make a successful living selling our food directly to restaurants. In the mid-1990s, with hindsight now being 2020, the roadmap was just about as difficult for taking the wreckage of a 20th century farm and projecting it into a, kind of putting it on the highway that seems so obvious to us now. Oh, just start a CSA, just go to farmers market, just collaborate with a bunch of chefs. Well, the landscape, literally and figuratively, is much different about 20 years ago than it is now. And I'm deeply optimistic about agriculture. We have an apprenticeship on our farm. The title of my book is No Accident. It's a pun on many levels, an analogy on many levels. And but I just wanted to share, because I don't get to speak in front of chefs too often, 2 different experiences, one anecdote and one kind of general experience that I get. And one general experience that I get is this. I pick up the phone or I check my email in the morning. This has happened for 15 years. And the email or phone call goes something like this. Hi, I'm starting a new restaurant in DC, and we're really excited to be working with a local farmer. We want to source everything locally. We want to, we know about Smith Meadows, that's my farm. We want to get all our meat grass-fed. We completely buy into it. What we need from you is 150 pounds of grass-fed tenderloin, preferably this week. And what's the best price you can give us? Okay. Well, as someone who runs a sustainable farm, and sustainable is a problematic word, I agree. But sustainability on our farm has to be an intersection of environmental sustainability, production sustainability, and economic sustainability. Okay, because I got to be able to fire up my farm at the end of the following year. And environmental sustainability is going to be a relationship to how much my farm can grow. Okay, we have 500 acres of pasture. Science dictates that there's only so much food I can grow, and then I got to start taking shortcuts. And that's where we get into all this problem. We're trying to grow our market share too quick, and we get into shortcuts that say we've got free-range chickens, and what they've got is 10,000 chickens with an open door that they open for 15 minutes a day, or whatever. All this stuff is real, all these pictures. And I will respectfully just add on to what Paul said. These pictures, they do gross me out, because those pictures right there are the reason why I farm the way I do. Because I saw that stuff growing up as a kid. I drove by those places in West Virginia. You smell them before you see them. That's just the way it goes. So my reaction to farming is as much visceral as it is philosophical. But I get these emails, and they're very well intended. Don't get me wrong. I can tell that there's incredible good intentions. Chefs and consumers alike want to connect with their farmer. But there's a misunderstanding that sustainability in our farm can grow about 100 slow food grass-fed beans. And we're not a small operation. We're 500 acres. The percentage of tenderloin on a beef is somewhere south of 5% on a beef. The amount of ground beef, chuck roast, stew cubes, sausage, no matter how creative I want to get with it, is in excess of 40%. Okay? So there's a huge lag. So that's one story. And so I tell the chefs, and literally this is the phone call that I got one time. I said, I'd be happy to work with you. You know, I can roughly supply you 20 pounds. Let's get started with 20 pounds a week. But I need you to take half the product in ground beef. Can we have like a nice tavern burger or some kind of like braising meat, you know, chuck roast or short ribs or something like this? And he says, wait a minute. He says, I thought you were a farmer. Yeah, I am a farmer, and that's why we're having this conversation. That's one conversation that I had. About 6 months ago, I got the opportunity to have a conversation with Michel Dashon at the Wholesome Wave Conference. And I've not eaten at his restaurant, but he heard my story just a little bit. He said, I wanted to talk to you. He said, what we do at our restaurant is we buy whole animals in from farmers, a lot like what Spike was alluding to, capitalizing the necessary infrastructure to help build the pie expansion that we need to get to. Because as a vertically integrated farmer, after 17 years, I'm still figuring out how to capitalize a 20 by 20 foot walk-in freezer. First off, and then capitalize the solar panels that are going to go up on top of my roof, because I want it to be truly sustainable. And I don't take subsidies. I do this, I pay as I go. I take my farmers market's dollars and I reinvest it back in my farm. Why? Because I'm a transparent operation and customers come out and see everything I do. I have to be authentic. If you put a book out here, coast to coast, people can shoot holes in it real quick if you're not super authentic. Okay? So Michel Dashon tells me, he says, look, we've got this idea. We buy in a whole carcass. We've got the ability to capitalize this because my customer base really wants this food. So it's my job to go out and figure out how to convince farmers to sell me this stuff and help problem solve for them. Okay? Farmers are really good at farming. Everybody knows that farming is a full-time job. It's hard then to market your stuff, to capitalize the infrastructure. You know, it's a cycle where an 80-hour week, sounds like a cliche, but that's how it goes. Okay, and it's Heinz and Toygos and the Keswick Creameries of the world. This is how we operate. And he says, look, we take a whole animal, and part of how we operate as a restaurant is to make a connection. It's an educational opportunity. So we start off the week with our real dedicated foodies, and we do braising meats and slow cuts. We're innovative, and we take some of this stuff, we smoke it, and present it in different ways. And we start with the less desirable. The chuck roasts and the short ribs and the briskets and all these things. And Tuesday goes into Wednesday, and we keep educating about these different special cuts. And it's like an opportunity for these really involved foodie customers that want to support their farmer, they want to support their local chefs, to get an education and to be moving all that animal on behalf of the farmer. And then it's only on the weekend when he calls it, like, I don't want to paraphrase him because I know this is going to go viral or something. They said, it's kind of like the dessert. It's kind of like our weekend folks. They get the Delmonicos and they get the tenderloins and all this stuff. But in the meantime, that's like a reward, okay, for being disciplined. For being a disciplined chef, and for being a disciplined consumer, valuing, as you said, the whole, everything, the whole animal, or the body of the food. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. We do farmers markets for a living because that's just what we set out to do. I think there are sensible pathways for farmers that want to work directly with chefs. I think the best advice I can give, and I'm just a livestock farmer, okay, I'm not really speaking on behalf of my vegetable peers and my dairy peers, because every situation is really going to be different, storage capacity is different, refrigerated trucking is different, all these things have seasonality and differences to it. But we just really need to, kind of be creative about utilizing the whole spectrum of what that farmer has to grow. Let's celebrate that farmer's talents for being like a tremendous food producer, and leverage that with our creativity, our customer base, and it's really going to be a win-win. So that's all I can say. Thank you.